Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am once again working on my Viking Link cosplay mashup. I've built several things for this particular costume and am closely wrapping it up to being finished. I would like to build a cloak, which is the purpose of this video, and I would also like to build a battle horn before I cap it off and say that it is done. So today we are going to take a cloak that I purchased online at Medieval Collectibles. I'll put links to it down in the description below. I need to do some modifications to it because it's not exactly what I wanted, but you'll see. So today we're going to modify it and make a Viking Link cloak out of cloth and faux fur and magnets and maybe some foam. Let's get to building. Let me just start by saying I've never made or modified a cloak, so I'm literally kind of making this up as I go. I'm sure there are a lot of better ways to go about doing this, but I'm just gonna kind of wing it. The main reason I am customizing my own is price. To get a really nice fur-lined replica, it's several $100s. I bought one of the cheapest cloaks on Medieval Collectibles at about 40 bucks, and I'm going to use that as a base. I drew up 12 of these circle decals in Procreate on my iPad, and I also drew the Mulgera knotwork. The runes on it are basically spelling out Much Prop Studios on each side, or at least that's what I can tell from my online reference. I mixed Viking and Legend of Zelda elements together in each decal, transferred them over to the Cricut program on my laptop, and then modified them for cutting. I'm using gold heat transfer vinyl for the large knotwork and silver for the circle decals. I sized them so I could get a total of 12 15-inch long knots and 12 circular decals that I think are 3.5 inches in diameter. All the time having my fingers crossed that it will all work and fit together. With the cutting patterns laid out for my Cricut Maker, I let it go. There's no way I could do this by hand and it not take like months. The prep work up to this point is about 15 to 20 hours of work, drawing, editing, file converting, and arranging them onto a mat. While the idea of a cloak seemed simple, there was way more work on the front end than I expected. This machine's going to save me days worth of time and also save my hands from not working for days. There are 3 of these sheets of 4 knots that I am now going to weed. Vinyl weeding is the process by which you remove all the parts that you don't need from your sheet. Each sheet took about 20 minutes or so to cut out of the knotwork and over an hour and a half for the circular decals. Now it's the tedious work. I spent a total of 8 hours weeding all these decals. I like to use a little pick, some tweezers, and a hobby knife to get in and pull stuff off. Right now you are looking at the underside of the heat transfer vinyl, so everything is backwards from what it looks like. I've had my vinyl cutter for several years and wasted a lot of materials forgetting to mirror my decals when I first started out. Take your time, put on a movie or 4, and just zone out prepping your iron-ons. Before I iron on my decals, I wanted to trim off the hood to get a better feel for how my iron-ons will lay on the cloak. It's deceptively large. At the bottom, it's around 8 foot in width and about 5.5 foot in height. I don't need the hood, so I just cut off above the stitching. Not too concerned about how it looks, as the faux fur is going to cover up what's left around the collar. To buy one of these decent quality cloaks with the fur already attached would easily be over $250. I'm gonna save myself about $150 to $200 making my own. I'll need to keep the string from the hood for later. Now time to iron on all the decals. In total, I used 11 of the 12 knots and 11 of the 12 circle details, so I have one of each left over basically. I tried to figure out the basic layout on the floor before I hit the record button. It was a rough estimation, as the bottom edge of the cloak is rounded, and I'll have to straighten out parts of it as I iron to match the curve with my design. I put my iron on full blast, put a piece of parchment paper over the vinyl, and began pushing it into submission on the rough textured cloak. It took a while to get the first one fully adhered, but I eventually got the hang of it and worked my way around the cloak. This was another couple of hours to iron them all on. I'm trying to be super careful as I pull back the protective sheet that goes on the front of the vinyl. I don't have any more of these gold vinyl sheets, and I don't want to have to make a trip to the hobby store just for more of it. If it doesn't peel off the film, I just hit it with a little bit more of an iron and try again. You may notice I have added 2 grommets to each side of the cloak. My work surface here is made of glass, and I can't exactly hammer grommets onto the surface. I quickly knocked them in outside on my back porch. They will reinforce the holes that I will feed the string through from the hoodie. My plan is to tie my cloak to the leather shoulder straps on my armor to secure it, and then my chain cloak clasps can drape across the opening. I loop the string in and then tie them together in a knot on the inside. I also cut the metal button off the other side. You don't see it on screen, but I did put protective eyewear on because I'm using this cutting wheel. You definitely want to put the protective gear on because that thing can explode. Got to protect yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself. Now time for the fake fur. I bought this a while back at a discount store for like $7. I think it was intended as a throw rug, but I'm gonna use it for the collar. Once again, I want to reiterate that I have never made a cloak before, and this is just me problem solving as I go. Here is my train of thought. I want to secure this on the inside perimeter of the neck, then wrap it around my shoulders to the back. I cut out the basic shape I want and decide to let it flow relatively freely by sewing it in just a couple of key spots. Most of the threading will go around the edges where it sits on the front. I work around the loop and cords and eventually secure the middle on the outside and inside in one spot in the middle. If I need to, I can go in later and add a couple of extra fastening points along the edges. I also used wax thread that you typically use for leatherwork and melted the ends secure. Last thing I need to figure out is how to secure my chain cloak clasp to the front of the fur. I glued some magnets to some of this thin EVA foam and then super glued that onto the inside of the fur at the ends. I roughed up the back of a magnet with an emery board to give the glue a little tooth to grip to. I got this cool leather kit from my brother and sister-in-law for Christmas and decided to try and use a few of the tools to carefully carve out the back of this resin. Eventually I switched over to a flat-faced blade on my hobby knife to chisel it out. I just need to gouge out a rectangle into the back to put my magnet in. If I just glue it flat to the surface, it's gonna pop off pretty easy. Carving it in to have that little extra surface area contact and ridge to receive a little pressure when sliding the parts off of each other. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Now, obviously you can't see all of it, and it is much bigger than you would anticipate. I think the cape at the bottom, or the cloak at the bottom, is like about 10 foot long or so, which is kind of surprising. I didn't think it was going to be that huge of a thing, but I really kind of love this awesome detail here. I'm even thinking about possibly making some merch that has this cool little thing in it. It is definitely a unique piece and something that took a lot longer than this short video accurately demonstrates. I don't know how well these magnets are going to hold up. It does kind of hold when you just set them on there, but I don't know how well that's going to be with movement, so I may end up having to go in and add some Velcro or some snaps or something to it. But yeah, maybe you'll try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to make something that is historically and video game canon inaccurate in most every way, and it'd still be okay. Maybe you'll get some. Yay! And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. Peace out. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to continue to see builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.